The 17-year-old high society lady from Beijing loved me as if her life depended on it. Her love was so intense she knelt down, refusing to break up. "Anything is fine, as long as you don't break up. I'm begging you, okay?" My heart ached bitterly, but I turned my head, forcing myself to utter the cruelest words. The moment she knelt, I still hardened my heart, turned around, and chose to leave the country. I knew I had shattered her pride. After that fall, there was no possibility for us anymore. 2 years later, we met again. She had become my investor. In the private room, I sat stiffly on the side. The director was trying to start a conversation. "Ms. G, why are you interested in our show? Everyone in the circle knows the G family never gets involved in the entertainment industry." Ji Xiaoman looked indifferent, casually rolled up her sleeve and lazily replied, "Bored." Everyone immediately burst into appreciative laughter, and the atmosphere livened up. The director glanced at me, the one trying hard to be invisible next to him, and chuckled, "Our scriptwriter is also from Nanchang. Speaking of which, he's a fellow townsman of yours, Ms. Ji." Ji Xiaoman glared at me, her handsome face still wearing a mocking smile. "He? Does he even deserve it?" The words were full of malice. The director awkwardly rubbed his nose, not understanding why the scriptwriter, whom she had just met, had offended this esteemed young lady. But before Capital, everyone is humble, so he just laughed it off to smooth things over. "Ms. G certainly knows how to joke. Everyone here has good taste." The topic was quickly shifted. My face was somewhat pale. I had thought she would hate me, and I had expected that seeing me again wouldn't be easy for me. But this kind of ambiguity tightened my heart over and over, yet in the end, it was only a word. Deserved. Never mind. I excused myself to go to the restroom, escaping the suffocating environment. I looked at myself in the mirror, slightly flustered. The delicate makeup was like a perfect mask, but the fear in my eyes seemed impossible to hide. In that moment, I suddenly wanted to back out. I had composed myself before leaving. Regardless, this show wasn't just mine. At this point, it would be selfish to give up. "Wasn't the moon round enough abroad you decided to come back?" Ji Xiaoman was leaning against the wall outside the door. Half of her perfect profile was in the dark. The mockery in her voice was obvious. I wet my lips, trying to keep my tone level. "Ms. G." The moment the words left my mouth, a shadow flashed before my eyes. My body was roughly pulled and slammed against the wall. One of Ji Xiaoman's arms was around my neck. The pressure was both light and deep, as if exerting absolute control. She gritted her teeth, pressed her head against me, and whispered coldly, "You dared to come back? Didn't I tell you not to let me see you again? Why did you come back? Are you regretting it?" Her voice was unstable, as if she desperately wanted to know the answer but was afraid to hear it. "Think clearly before you speak." I felt dizzy. A mixed clean fragrance came from her, distinctly different from my memory. For some reason, the thought popped into my head. "When did you change your perfume?" The force on my body suddenly increased. Ji Xiaoman tightened the hand she had placed on my throat. There was no gap left between us. "By what right are you questioning me?" "I'm sorry. That's not what I want to hear." Ji Xiaoman's tone was explosive, completely devoid of the cold and indifferent composure she had in the private room. My back hit the wall again heavily. I frowned, trying to push away the person pressing against me, but this slight resistance became the trigger for her emotional outburst. She restrained my hands, pulling me into her embrace in an almost frantic manner. My chin was lifted. The force of her kiss was anything but gentle, giving no space for breath, so fierce that it choked me. "Say what I want to hear." She released my lips for a moment. My consciousness slowly returned. I took a deep breath and asked confusedly, "What?" Ji Xiaoman slightly pulled back, the coldness in her eyes a stark contrast to the intense kissing just moments before. Her thumb was still resting on my swollen red lips, but her words were utterly cruel. "You became a scriptwriter relying on this? Would you not resist if I took you to a hotel?" My sinking heart felt as if it had been doused with ice-cold water. I bit my lip and used both hands to push back her restless hands, sighing, "Let go of me." Ji Xiaoman sneered, "You weren't so resistant a moment ago." She stepped back 2 paces casually, staring deeply at me. "Scriptwriter Yi, I have invested tens of millions in this project. I don't need a partner who might back out at any time. If you can't commit, get lost early. Don't waste my time." After speaking, she pulled a tissue from a nearby table, slowly wiped her fingers, tossed it into the trash can, and turned to walk back into the private room. I felt as if I had lost all strength, sliding down the wall. My heart, however, was chilled to the extreme. I had put all my passion into this TV project, working hard for half a year. But now, I suddenly felt a massive urge to withdraw. When I returned to the private room, the director looked at me with concern. "Your face is a bit off. Are you not feeling well?" I forced a smile. "Maybe just a slight cold." The woman in the main seat was elegantly holding a wine glass. She looked up at me and let out a short, sharp laugh. "Director, I have very strict requirements for the show. Someone frail might not be suitable." Her words suggested replacing me. The director naturally knew how much effort I had put into this project. Although he didn't understand why Ms. G was deliberately targeting me, he still spoke up for me. "Ms. G, scriptwriter Yi, has been in charge of this entire show. She is overseeing all the procedures and is definitely the most suitable person." My heart was heavy. I knew Ji Xiaoman probably wouldn't let me off easily. She might even make things difficult for the entire crew because of me. Despite my reluctance to give up, I forced myself to cheer up and squeeze out a smile. "Director, the proposal is written in detail. I can step down first." The director was stunned and about to speak when suddenly there was a loud crash. Ji Xiaoman had thrown the wine glass against the wall. Expensive red wine spilled onto the carpet, and glass shards were everywhere. The private room instantly fell silent. No one dared to speak. Everyone knew the Ji family's young lady had a bad temper and was volatile, but outside she was usually reasonable. Throwing a wine glass like this was a first. The assistant accompanying her had cold sweat dripping down her temples. She timidly brought a new wine glass. "Ms. Ji!" Ji Xiaoman's expression was grim. She stared at me, her tone icy. "Abandoning it just like that? Scriptwriter Yi, do you have no respect for anything or anyone?" The director was momentarily speechless, unable to figure out what the lady meant. "Then, Ms. Ji, what do you think?" Despite his internal complaints, the director spoke humbly. Ji Xiaoman stood up, her dark eyes fixed on me, her tone cold. Since he was fully in charge, he should take it seriously. "Throughout the entire production period, don't take a single day off. Come to the company to handle the project coordination tomorrow. I don't want to hear any excuses." The director's heart finally eased. He quickly stood up and smiled. "Rest assured, Miss Ji, scriptwriter Ye is famously a workaholic. She will definitely follow through the entire process." "Workaholic?" Ji Xiaoman repeated the word with a vague look, but then suddenly smiled. "Then let me see how dedicated you are." After saying that, she strode away without looking back. Her attitude was arrogant, not putting any of them in her eyes. It was utterly unreasonable. The director sighed and patted my shoulder reassuringly. "Xiao Ye, Ms. Ji has always had this temper. Don't take it to heart. In our line of work, what kind of investor haven't we seen? At least she's generous." Although he said that, he was still a little worried about me. I recovered and gave a bitter smile. "Don't worry, I can handle it." The next day, I woke up very early. I meticulously organized the proposal materials again before driving to Ji Xiaoman's company. The receptionist led me directly to the CEO's office and smiled politely. "Miss Ji is in a meeting. Could you please wait for a moment, Mr. Yi?" I hesitated and said, "I can coordinate directly with the person in charge. No need to bother Ms. Ji." The receptionist chuckled, covering her mouth. "Our Ms. Ji is personally handling this project, so you need to talk to her." I was alone in the enormous office, feeling a bit restless. But for the sake of the show, I had to cheer up and treat her as a normal investor. I reassured myself. After waiting for about half an hour, Ji Xiaoman pushed the door open and walked in. She sat behind the desk in a businesslike manner, her tone flat. "I've looked at the documents. Some procedures are too rigid and need to be changed. Is just anyone capable?" I took out the procedure document and a pen, looking at it seriously. "Ms. Ji, could you tell me specifically where it is? I'll correct it as soon as possible." Ji Xiaoman pulled the documents aside and said in a low voice, "If I have to tell you everything, what do I need you scriptwriters for?" Helpless, I opened the procedure document and confirmed every word. My speaking speed wasn't fast, and my attitude was sincere. After talking for a long time, I didn't get a response. I paused. The office fell silent. Neither of us spoke. After an unknown period, I suddenly snapped out of it, flipping through the documents in my hand, murmuring helplessly, "If you're not satisfied, I'll go back and revise it now, and then send you the electronic version." Ji Xiaoman lightly pinched the corner of her mouth, and her cool voice sounded, "You're so eager to leave. What I say doesn't matter, does it?" I simply put down the procedure document and looked her straight in the eye. Ms. G, how do you want me to change it? This is work. I will definitely make sure you're satisfied. Ji Xiaoman didn't speak but stood up. She looked down at me, leaning slightly, her nose almost touching mine. Aren't you the one who knows best how to please me? My face flushed, then turned white. I knew she intended to humiliate me. Even though I was mentally prepared, I couldn't help but feel embarrassed. I slightly tilted my head, looking away and avoiding the core issue. Miss G, I'll go back and change the procedures. I said this, intending to escape, but unfortunately she seemed to have anticipated it. My waist was restrained. I was forced to lean against her chest again. I grew angry and yelled, Ji Xiaoman, let go of me! Ji Xiaoman stared at my small face flushed with anger, and instead her mood improved. Not calling me Ms. G anymore? From the past to the present, I've never been able to handle this person. Even though she has grown into a mature woman now, she is still like this in her bones. What exactly do you want? I pushed against her chest, struggling without success, and could only soften my tone. I'm sorry for what happened in the past, but it's been so long. If you don't want to see me, I can withdraw from this project. The large hand resting on my lower back suddenly exerted force. I winced in pain and was about to cry out, but the pressure immediately lessened. Yi Chen, who do you think you are? Ji Xiaoman sneered. Let me go, and returned to the desk, staring at me, her tone hostile. You owe me this. No matter how I treat you, you have to bear it. I was truly afraid. I knew better than anyone how crazy this woman was. At this moment, I genuinely wanted to escape. Even if I had great reluctance for this project, I wanted to give up now. Don't even think about it. Ji Xiaoman seemed to see through my thoughts, her gaze dark and her tone icy. If you dare to leave, I'll withdraw the investment immediately. I bowed my head and remained silent for a long time. Ji Xiaoman, separated by the desk, stared at me sitting on the sofa with my head down. She was grinding her back teeth, waiting for me to say something. The office was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Time passed, minute by minute, but I stubbornly remained silent. Ji Xiaoman was disappointed. She suddenly stood up, kicked over the chair in front of her and roared, Is your mouth the only hard part of your whole body, damn it? She left in a fit of rage, slamming the door shut as she went. My fists clenched and unclenched. I was a little unsure what Ji Xiaoman meant. Did she want me to say something? To beg her? I thought for a long time, then drooped my head dejectedly, resigned to my fate, and started revising the procedure document. The morning passed quickly. Ji Xiaoman never reappeared. I had no choice but to revise it repeatedly. Just then, the door was pushed open. The assistant who follows Ji Xiaoman came in with a lunchbox. Scriptwriter Ye, you've worked hard. The weather outside is bad. Please make do with the company's working lunch. I was overwhelmed by this unexpected favor. Given the CEO's attitude toward me, I hadn't expected her subordinates to be so polite. Thank you. I quickly thanked her, taking the meal box and genuinely feeling apologetic. I've troubled you. The assistant hesitated, rubbing her nose, and managed to say, Scriptwriter Yi, you can contact me anytime you need anything. I offered a sincere smile. You're a really nice person. I thought that my relationship with Ji Xiaoman was beyond saving, but making friends with her assistant might be helpful for pushing the show forward, so I laughed more naturally. We're probably the same age, right? Just call me Yi Chen. Before the assistant could reply, Ji Xiaoman, who had appeared unnoticed, stood behind her and coldly snorted. Does the company pay you to stand around chatting? The assistant immediately shrank her neck and slipped away along the wall. I dropped my smile, silently complaining in my mind. Ji Xiaoman narrowed her eyes at me. 2 years apart, and you've learned to change your face. You were smiling so happily just now, and the moment I show up, you look grim. I wisely chose not to reply. I handed her the revised procedure document. Ms. G, I've made some changes. Please take a look and see if there are any other unsatisfactory points. Ji Xiaoman didn't take it. Instead, she asked coldly, You know I won't be satisfied, yet you still want me to look at it? I quickly withdrew my hand and stopped talking. Why aren't you talking? Ji Xiaoman wouldn't let me off. She continued to ask, You chatted with a little assistant for so long. Have you become a mute now? I reluctantly put down my chopsticks and looked at her seriously. If you want to scold me, then please scold me all at once. I won't talk back. Ji Xiaoman paused, her expression chilling, but seeing the lunchbox in front of me, she held back, her tone flat. After you finish eating, bring the procedure document to the conference room. She slammed the door and left again. I took a deep breath, opened the lunchbox, and prepared to eat. Then I was shocked by the luxurious lunch. The two-tiered lunchbox was steaming, filled with all my favorite foods. My stomach immediately started growling. In the years I was abroad, I barely ate any Chinese food. Heaven knows how much I missed these flavors. Even Ji Xiaoman's difficult behavior was temporarily forgotten. I ate happily with my chopsticks. Outside the door, Ji Xiaoman watched me through the window. The smile on the corner of her mouth just started to form but was immediately suppressed. In the afternoon, Ji Xiaoman never appeared again. I handed the revised procedures to the assistant and asked, "Since Ms. Ji is busy, I'll leave now. We can communicate by phone if anything comes up." The assistant looked at me awkwardly and said, "Scriptwriter Ye. Ms. Ji had a last-minute appointment, but she specifically instructed you to wait before she left." I frowned and asked, "Then when will she be back?" The assistant shook her head. "I don't know." She stammered, "Ms. Ji said she would withdraw the investment if you dared to leave." I was annoyed but also helpless, mentally preparing myself. Being tormented by her was one thing, but experiencing it firsthand was inevitably irritating. I had no choice but to return to the CEO's office. Since the big boss wanted me to wait, I could only wait. What else could I do? Just then, the weather outside the window suddenly turned gloomy and it started to rain. I was truly bored, so I took a tour of Ji Xiaoman's office. The decor was simple, unremarkable, and similar to other CEO offices. Suddenly, my gaze was drawn to something in the corner. I walked closer and froze, seemingly unable to believe it. After a long while, I reached out with a trembling hand. It was a pair of crutches. I composed myself, remembering Ji Xiaoman's well-proportioned figure. My heart slowly calmed down. It couldn't be hers. She's clearly perfectly healthy. I reassured myself, afraid of finding anything else. I simply sat back on the sofa and flipped through a boring magazine. I had only arrived back yesterday and then met Ji Xiaoman last night. My emotions had been running high, and I hadn't slept soundly all night. Drowsiness came over me, and I unintentionally drifted off to sleep. In my dream, it was raining heavily, just like outside. The old man who had been amiable yesterday met with me alone and threw a check at me, looking at me coldly. "Here are 800 million. Leave my Xiaoman." I bit my lip, refusing to yield. I truly loved her, not because of her family background. The old man's attitude was cold but firm. "My Ji family may not look at social status, but the family history must be clean. Mr. Ye, you don't want your messy past to be associated with Xiaoman's name, do you?" My face turned frighteningly pale, but I tightly squeezed my palms with my fingertips. "I am clean. I always have been," the old man sighed. "Why make it necessary? Must I use threats?" He then threw a pile of photos at me. The scene shifted, and I saw myself coldly telling the girl we were breaking up. "You're too childish. I'm already bored. Let's break up." The proud and noble girl begged humbly. "No, I'll change, okay? Husband? Don't leave me, please." The high society lady, used to a life of luxury, lowered her noble head, humbling herself to the dust. "Please, anything is fine, as long as you don't break up." My heart ached bitterly, but I turned my head, forcing myself to utter the cruelest words. "Anything is fine, is it?" I truly didn't expect Ji Xiaoman to actually flee. The moment she bent her knee, I couldn't help but step back cruelly and then run away. That night, there was truly no possibility left between us. The rain kept falling, as if it wouldn't stop until the end of the world. The sound of the rain was so loud that the world was quiet. I finally understood that a person's heart really could break into pieces. When I opened my eyes again, I felt like I was in another world. The office lights weren't on. The continuous gloomy rain outside made it hard to tell the time. I sat up. A jacket slid off me. It was the jacket Ji Xiaoman was wearing today. "Did I pay all this money just to hire you to sleep?" A cool voice sounded. I was stunned and looked up. In the darkness, I saw Ji Xiaoman sitting behind the desk, speaking. Light wasn't on. I closed my eyes. The broken girl from my dream gradually merged with the woman whose outline I could only see in front of me. Ji Xiaoman saw I wasn't speaking, stood up impatiently, and snorted as she walked toward the door. "If you were my employee, you'd have been fired long ago for daring to sleep in the office." She came closer, and only then saw the man in front of her with red-rimmed eyes. Her blaming tone abruptly stopped. Ji Xiaoman tugged at my collar, looking slightly annoyed. "It's just 2 words of criticism. Why are you, a grown man, crying? If you have such a temper, don't try to work. No one will keep indulging you. I wanted to explain, but found my throat was dry and hoarse from sleeping. She clenched her fist and finally turned her back, throwing out a sentence before leaving. The procedures are barely acceptable. That's enough for today. You can go back. My thoughts finally completely detached from the dream. I rubbed my numb legs and stood up, a little disbelieving that it had passed. I had thought I would have to revise this procedure document for 3 days and 3 nights. I took a deep breath and checked my phone. It was almost 6 p.m. I had actually slept here for a whole afternoon. I slapped my forehead in annoyance, angry at my carelessness. Never mind Ji Xiaoman's office. I couldn't sleep all afternoon in any other investor's office either. I slowly walked out. The employees outside were starting to leave work one after another. The young assistant came up to me. "Scriptwriter Yi, the company has arranged a car to take you back." I felt even more apologetic, shaking her hand repeatedly and politely saying, "No need to be so polite, I drove myself." The assistant wanted to say something more. I thanked her and walked away quickly. After I left, the assistant scratched her head and turned around, just to see Ms. G standing silently behind her. The assistant was startled and quickly explained, "Ms. G, scriptwriter Yi drove himself." "I know," Ji Xiaoman said quietly, returning to the office expressionless. The road was a bit congested due to the rain. I turned into a brand-name maternity store, bought a few baby clothes, and then slowly drove toward Qiao Shifei's house. I called ahead and didn't forget to cautiously ask, "Is your wife not home?" Qiao Shifei's wife was my former boss. She had a strong presence and didn't talk much, and she was also good friends with Ji Xiaoman. Honestly, I was a little scared to see her. On the other end of the phone, Qiao Shifei laughed foolishly. No, don't worry, come on over." I felt relieved and happily said, "I want to give little Xing Xing a big hug." Qiao Shifei grumbled, "You want to be Xing Xing's godfather, but you only come back once a year. What kind of godfather are you?" I quickly begged for mercy and hung up, feeling much better, and continued driving. A black Volkswagen in front kept changing lanes. I couldn't overtake, so I could only follow slowly. The car behind kept honking to rush me, trying to speed up and pass. The road was slippery. The 2 road rage drivers, front and back, acted up. The result was that I, the unlucky one, was rear-ended. The 3 cars were squeezed together. Even with my seatbelt on, my head hit the steering wheel. I touched my head. It was bleeding faintly, and I felt a little dizzy. Fortunately, it was in the city center. The traffic police were very fast and handled most of it in half an hour. My car was sandwiched between the other 2 and suffered the most damage. Naturally, I couldn't drive it temporarily. The 2 road rage drivers were ruled completely at fault. They were both extremely compliant in front of the police, rushing to pay the medical expenses and politely apologizing to me. The doctor bandaged me up, gave me detailed instructions, and told me to come back tomorrow to change the dressing. "It's nothing serious, but I suggest you rest in bed for the next 2 days. Definitely avoid strenuous exercise." I breathed a sigh of relief. Too bad I couldn't go to the Qiao family after all this trouble. While I was feeling regretful, my phone rang. Qiao Shifei's anxious voice came through. "You idiot, why haven't you arrived after so long? Did something happen?" I touched the gauze on my head, sighing. "I got hit by 2 maniacs." Qiao Shifei quickly asked, "Are you hurt? Do you need help?" "It's nothing serious, but my car can't be driven. I'm afraid I have to stand you up today." I still felt regretful. Qiao Shifei breathed a sigh of relief and laughed, scolding, "What are you talking about? It's good that you're fine. I don't have a shoot these 2 days." "I have time to see you anytime." "Got it, great actor Qiao." I hung up the phone and looked at the time. It was almost 8 p.m. I had no choice but to take a taxi back to my place. When I got home, I felt a dull ache in my head. Lying in bed, I inhaled as I touched my head, looking at my phone, hesitating. I remembered Ji Xiaoman had said not to take a single day off, or she would withdraw the investment. After waking up, I sighed and took a taxi directly to the company. I arrived at the company around 10 a.m. I hurried toward the elevator with my briefcase. I was supposed to select shooting locations today, and the schedule was tight, yet I was late. Just as I got off the elevator, the young assistant came up to me. "Scriptwriter Yi, you're finally here. Ms. G has been waiting for you in her office since 8 o'clock. I apologized sheepishly. I couldn't get a taxi, so I was late. The assistant was startled. "Scriptwriter Yi, are you hurt?" I felt even more embarrassed. Yesterday, I had confidently said I could drive myself through the storm, and right after refusing her kind offer of a ride, I had a car accident. Even though it wasn't my fault, I blushed to admit it. I vaguely replied, "Just hit my head a bit, nothing serious." The assistant was relieved but quietly reminded me, "Ms. G is in a bad mood, be careful." I nodded, feeling apprehensive, and gently knocked on the CEO's office door. "Come in." I pushed the door open. Ji Xiaoman was looking at documents in her hand and didn't even look up. "Sleeping yesterday, late today. Yi Chen, you have a lot of nerve." I apologized respectfully. "I apologize, Ms. G. I was wrong today." Ji Xiaoman sneered. "Do you think just because you apologize, others will forgive you?" She looked up, about to say something harsher, but her expression suddenly changed. She asked urgently, "What happened to your head?" Startled, I instinctively touched the bandage and said, "I bumped it yesterday." Ji Xiaoman stood up and walked over quickly, staring at my face. "Your face is so pale. What happened? Where did you hit it?" Her questions were too numerous. I didn't know how to answer all at once. I said briefly, "It's fine now. Should we head to the filming location?" Ji Xiaoman ground her back teeth. "I don't have time today. I can send my assistant with you. I will organize the materials for you. You can just check them later when you have time," I said eagerly. "But the shooting locations and routes." Ji Xiaoman looked at me for a long time without speaking, her fierce gaze making me think I had said the wrong thing again. I tried to explain, "I don't mean to be perfunctory. There are a few tentative locations in the proposal. Today is just to confirm the route planning and which one is more reasonable." Ji Xiaoman interrupted. "I don't have a habit of pampering employees. I have to go on a business trip. I won't be here for 3 days." I understood and asked, "Then what should I do?" Ji Xiaoman seemed angry and snapped. "What should you do? Go home and lie down. This project requires your full commitment. You are not allowed to do anything else these few days." I touched my head, reluctant to delay the project for so long, and tried to argue, "When I come back, I'll give the organized information to the assistant to look over. Our show can't miss the golden broadcast period, or the later promotion will lag behind, and the publicity costs will increase significantly." My attitude was very sincere. I was genuinely considering the investors' interests. Ji Xiaoman looked at me impatiently. "Are you not listening to me? I have people more professional than you to check the site. You just go back and wait." But I wrote the procedures myself, and there are some details I need to confirm. Ji Xiaoman was too lazy to argue with me any further, her tone full of impatience. "Now get lost and wait. If I find out you show up at the site within 3 days, I'll withdraw the investment immediately." "Wait a moment," Ji Xiaoman said coldly. "I'll have the driver take you back, lest something happens on the road and you blame our company again. I don't want to pay money." She deliberately used a nasty tone to say what could have been a polite sentence. I looked at the woman who had turned her back, emitting an aura of cold indifference, and my heart was filled with an indescribable feeling. I lowered my head and nodded obediently. "Okay." I suddenly softened. Ji Xiaoman stiffened for a moment before walking away. The assistant told me the car was waiting downstairs. I thanked her and followed her out. As we entered the elevator, I suddenly asked, "I heard Ms. Ji criticized you a lot these past few days. Are you okay?" The assistant gave me a complicated look but said nothing. I went home and rested for the entire morning. When I woke up, I felt refreshed. I grabbed a quick bite and went to the hospital to change the dressing. In the afternoon, I called Qiao Shifei and said, "I'm on vacation. I'm home this afternoon." "Vacation?" Qiao Shifei on the other end of the phone seemed to be eating, his words muffled. "Didn't you say the project was urgent?" I hadn't told him that the investor was Ji Xiaoman. I hesitated and said, "I got a temporary 3-day leave, Qiao Shifei, HMPHED, and then asked, 'Are you okay from the bump yesterday?' I laughed. "I'm fine, I'm strong." Qiao Shifei laughed and scolded, then told me to be careful on the road before hanging up. The last time we met was a year ago. Qiao Shifei was filming a movie. Fearing I would run into Ji Xiaoman, I had deliberately returned only after his child's full moon celebration, meeting them briefly before leaving quickly again. Little Xing Xing was now toddling. She looked at me with her big round eyes, babbling. Though I couldn't understand what she was saying, she seemed very happy. I was instantly melted. I held little Xing Xing, looking left and right. This girl had completely surpassed her parents in looks. Combining her dad's and her mom's beauty, in the words of netizens, she had a divine face. Qiao Shifei proudly pinched his daughter's little hand and laughed. "Of course! My little angel is a true beauty. You're lucky to be her godfather. Children get sleepy easily, and the nanny soon carried her away for a nap. Only then did I lazily lie down on the sofa. Kids are great, carefree. Cao Shifei glanced at me and asked, "Are you leaving again?" I lowered my head and said, "When the project is over, I have to go." Cao Shifei's expression changed, and he questioned me. "Do you really like foreign countries that much?" How could I? Sometimes, even in my dreams, I dream of the moon back home. But how can I return? And how can I face her? I dropped some of my feigned strength in front of my friend. I saw her. Cao Shifei was shocked, naturally knowing who I was talking about. "You mean Ji Xiaoman?" I nodded. Cao Shifei gasped. "I should have expected it. How could she not see you?" Cao Shifei hesitated, then slowly said after a long time, "Ye Chen, she once gave a lot." I was silent for a moment, then evasively changed the subject. "The past is the past. Why talk about it? The weather is nice tomorrow. Want to go out and play? Bring little Sing Shing." Cao Shifei refused my suggestion. "You've finally got a break. Just stay put." 3 days later, I got the test results from the hospital. As soon as I confirmed that everything was fine, I eagerly drove my repaired car to the company. Ji Xiaoman wasn't there. The assistant, sniffing quickly, came out and said, "Manager Li will go to the site with you later." I then saw the woman beside her. "Scriptwriter Yi, I've been to the site these past 3 days. The final discussion result is to choose Binyu Xiaoyuan. How do you feel about it?" I didn't expect Manager Lai to be so efficient, and the chosen location was also my favorite. I quickly nodded. "This place is great. Then should we go there again now?" Manager Li smiled slightly. "We just need to go to the site and confirm the time and schedule with the staff there." I quickly took out the materials I had prepared. "Okay, Manager Li. Just call me Nanzhen, sister. We'll be working together for a while. No need to be so formal. Sister Nanzhen, you can just call me Yi Chen." Since returning home, the people I've met seem very nice, without any sense of scheming or fighting. The two of us chatted well along the way and cooperated even more smoothly at the site. A day of work felt like time flew by. It wasn't until near closing time that we headed back. I parked the car outside the company and said politely, "Sister Nanzhen, I won't go up. I'll come find you tomorrow to organize the documents." The next day, Ji Xiaoman still didn't show up. I felt relieved, an indescribable feeling, but I quickly immersed myself in work. At noon, Nanzhen pulled me to the employee cafeteria to eat. "Our food is decent, we're tight on time, so let's just make do." Remembering the working lunch from the other day, I swallowed. It wasn't just decent, it was extravagantly delicious. Ji family owns many companies. This is considered a new company, and there aren't many employees, so there aren't many people dining. I followed Nanzhen with my tray, a little dumbfounded. Where was the fish? The shrimp? There was sweet and sour pork, but the glaze clearly wasn't the same quality as the other day. There was fruit, too, but it was far inferior to what I had eaten that day. Nanzhen picked up a chicken wing and looked at me questioningly. "Why aren't you getting any food?" I snapped out of it, embarrassed to voice my doubts. Just then, there was a commotion at the door, and the employees around started whispering. I looked over and saw Ji Xiaoman standing lazily at the door, her gaze openly fixed on me. I muttered to myself, "The sun must have risen from the west today. Why would Ms. Ji come to the employee cafeteria?" Even the restaurant manager and head chef were startled, rushing out from inside with clasped hands, asking respectfully, "Ms. Ji, what would you like to eat?" Ji Xiaoman's gaze swept over my plate and said, "Whatever." The restaurant manager awkwardly pinched the head chef's arm. What kind of leftovers is whatever? Nanzhen stepped forward to greet her and pulled my sleeve. "Ms. Ji, we need to confirm a few guests this afternoon. Is there anything we should pay attention to? Be sure to invite Kaishu-kun. Everyone else is up to you." Nanzhen instinctively glanced at me. Seeing that I was still staring down in a daze, she quickly pulled me to a table farther away. Ji Xiaoman sat near the door. Her expensive dress felt out of place with the environment of the employee cafeteria. Because the boss was present, everyone tried to eat quietly. The atmosphere was slightly strange. I absent-mindedly picked at my rice. I had heard the name Kai Sukun. He was the hottest young celebrity of the last 2 years. His acting was average, but his singing, dancing, and basketball skills were ridiculously good. People outside rumored that Ji Xiaoman was his sugar mommy. If that was true, I lowered my eyes self-mockingly. What does it matter if it's true? I hadn't finished eating when I received a call from Lusweti. The restaurant was too quiet, so the voice of the person on the other end was especially loud. Yi-chen, how's your flight tomorrow? Curious glances were cast my way. I lowered my voice, embarrassed. I'll pick you up tomorrow. Let's talk tonight. Without waiting for Lu Shuiqi's answer, I decisively hung up. I couldn't help but glance at Ji Xiaoman nearby. She was eating elegantly, her head lowered. Her long eyelashes cast a shadow, giving her a strange sense of loneliness. I suddenly remembered the way she used to be. Unrestrained, arrogant, childish, and mischievous. No matter which version of her, she loved me so much. But in the end, I was the one who threw her away. I gathered my thoughts, forced myself to cheer up, and reminded myself that she was only an investor now. Once the show officially began recording later, she, as a CEO of a corporation, couldn't possibly be there every day. Our contact would gradually decrease until the end. Passing the door after eating, Nanzhen politely greeted her. Ms. Ji, we're heading back down now. I could only politely nod along. Ji Xiaoman just mm-hmmed without any extra words. My heart tightened and relaxed. I walked toward the elevator with my head down, but Nanzhen started talking. Don't underestimate Miss G's age. She's absolutely reliable in business. I have a feeling our show is definitely going to be a hit this time. I forced a smile. Let's hope so. Speaking of which, although Ms. G has a peculiar temper, she's quite focused. Other than that Kaishu-kun, I haven't seen anyone else around her. Nanzhen sighed. I guess Ms. G suddenly got involved in the entertainment industry just to support him. Why else would she suddenly invest in a variety show? I didn't say anything more, my eyes fixed on the schedule in front of me, briefly reviewing the process. Nanzhen organized the documents and said, "We can call it an early day today. We don't get to decide which celebrities to invite." I quietly said, "Then I'll head back first. Just contact me anytime if you have any questions." Nanzhen noticed my complexion was a bit off and asked worriedly, "Are you feeling unwell? Why does your face suddenly look so bad?" "Probably didn't sleep well last night. I'll be fine after some rest." I picked up my briefcase, almost desperate to leave. I walked to the company entrance and sent a message to Lu Shuiqi. "Emergency. Come back quickly. If you don't come back, you'll miss AG Super Play Club winning the championship." Lu Shuiqi called back quickly, still in a teasing tone. "HMPH. Finally, you remember, my goodness. Why the sudden change of heart?" I stood in front of my car, suddenly leaning against it as if I had lost all strength. "The investor this time is Ji Xiaoman." "What?" Her voice suddenly got louder. "Why didn't you say so earlier? Did she give you a hard time?" I looked at my reflection, devoid of life, and laughed self-mockingly. I deserve it if she gave me a hard time. Lu Shuiqi scolded me, frustrated. "Are you stupid? It was her family who forced you to leave. You didn't do anything wrong to her." "But she doesn't know anything." I covered my eyes tiredly with one hand. "Lu Shuiqi, I'm so tired." Silence fell on the other end of the line. After a while, Lu Shuiqi said bitterly, "Just live with your petty pride then. What a beautiful face wasted." Perhaps sensing my bad mood even through the phone, Lu Shuiqi changed the subject again. "I haven't been back home in a long time either. You promised to cook for me personally when I came back. I expect a feast." I opened the car door, got in, and joked, "I haven't cooked in ages. I'm afraid I'll poison you." "Don't give me excuses. If you break your word, I'll move into your place and bring my cat." I imagined that scene and couldn't help but shiver, quickly begging for mercy. "Forget it. Forget it. My small place can't accommodate a lady of your stature. I'll go back and practice my cooking right away. I guarantee your satisfaction." "Approved. I want 18 dishes." Lu Shuiqi hung up, satisfied. "I need to search for recipes online. Don't be too excessive," I muttered, hanging up the phone. The distraction from Lu Shuiqi did cheer me up a lot. Thinking of the young lady arriving tomorrow, I decided to drive to the supermarket to buy ingredients in advance. Just as I drove out of the parking lot, an unfamiliar number called. Without thinking, I answered. "Come back for overtime." The voice was cold, but I immediately recognized Ji Xiaoman's voice. I paused, then spoke in a business-like manner. "The process has been completely verified. Is there something else?" Her tone was far from friendly, full of sarcasm. "Scriptwriter Yi, is that how your company teaches you to speak to an investor?" Stung by her remark, I worked hard to calm down before replying, "I'll be right back." 2 years later, she had become a slave driver. I wasn't too angry, just resignedly pressed the elevator button. This time was exactly rush hour. Everyone was coming out of the elevator laughing and talking. Only I was going up against the flow. Nanzhen happened to meet me and asked confusedly, "Why are you back? Did you forget something?" I smiled sheepishly. "Overtime." "No way. We finished the preliminary work. Ms. G just said I could take tomorrow off." Nanzhen was even more confused. "Did something happen suddenly?" She quickly checked her phone for work group messages. There were none. I shook my head. "I don't know." The elevator emptied. I waved to Nanzhen as I went up. "I'm going up now." Several work areas were empty. Even the assistant was packing her bag to leave. She pointed to the innermost office. Ms. G is inside, in the quiet, cold office. Ji Xiaoman was sitting at her desk, typing on the computer. She wore glasses on her nose, which gave her an aloof, do not approach vibe. I was startled. This was the first time I had seen her wearing glasses. A few strands of hair swept down her forehead, covering the lenses. The beautiful eyes and brows beneath exuded impatience, adding an unexpectedly cool and detached air. "Ms. G," I said softly, finding my voice a little hoarse. "What do you need me to do?" Ji Xiaoman looked up at me. Her eyes behind the lenses were like a deep, dangerous sea, calm but with an undercurrent of turbulence. "What are your thoughts on the guests?" I didn't understand why she was asking me this. As a scriptwriter, I was only responsible for the show's procedures. The guests were the investors' and directors' decision. Did I even have the power to influence that? I thought about it and seriously pondered for a moment before giving a standard answer. The show focuses mainly on comedy. Most of the content involves pranking the guests, so it's best to invite celebrities who can shed their idol image and be uninhibited. Ji Xiaoman stopped typing and looked at me with a half smile. "So you think Kaukun is unsuitable?" My heart tightened. I quickly shook my head, clarifying that I absolutely had no intention of targeting Kaukun. Ji Xiaoman propped her chin up, the corners of her slightly curved mouth seeming to smile, but her words were extremely harsh. "Kaukun is young and has been delicate since childhood. He can't handle all that messy hardship." I understood Ji Xiaoman's meaning and quickly agreed. "Don't worry, Ms. G, I will pay special attention to Mr. Kai's segment in the show to ensure he doesn't get hurt. Not won't get hurt, but foolproof." Ji Xiaoman stared at me as if trying to see through me. I naturally protect the people I care about very closely, and my standards are naturally high. Scriptwriter Yi should be very clear about this. Of course I was clear. Back then, I was a virtually unknown celebrity, yet she protected me like a top-tier star. I replied expressionlessly. "Okay." Ji Xiaoman was not satisfied. She took off her glasses, casually tossed them onto the table, and questioned me coldly, "Can you guarantee it?" The show hasn't started yet, and I don't know anything about Kaukun. I can only say I'll try my best. I'm not a deity. How can I guarantee it? If Ms. G wants a guarantee, please talk to the director. I'm just a scriptwriter, I don't have that much power. Ji Xiaoman coughed lightly. "Such a temper. Aren't you afraid I'll withdraw the investment?" "Then withdraw it." The moment I said that, I regretted it. Ji Xiaoman glared at me and asked, "Are you angry?" I shook my head. "May I ask, Ms. G, what specific work do you need me to do for overtime?" Ji Xiaoman looked at me, her expression flattening. "Where is the schedule in the procedure document?" I took the procedure documents out of my bag and realized I had made a mistake. I hadn't updated the schedule. I immediately admitted my error. "I apologize, Ms. G. I'll correct it right away," I said, then opened my laptop and started typing. There was no one in the entire company, and it was eerily quiet. I could faintly hear our shallow breathing. I had already checked the time, so I only needed to organize it simply. The workload wasn't very heavy. It was gradually getting dark outside. My phone suddenly rang. It was a video call from Lu Shuiqi. I subconsciously glanced at Ji Xiaoman, who was looking down, deep in thought. I hung up the call, sent a message that I was working overtime, put my phone away, and continued typing. I hadn't eaten much at noon, and now, having worked hard for a while, my stomach started to protest. I finally finished the schedule. It was already past 7. I placed the documents on the table, stood up, and prepared to leave. "Ms. G, it's organized. If there are any issues, I'll revise it tomorrow." Actually, the schedule had been confirmed a long time ago. I just forgot to type it into the new procedure document. It wasn't urgent. It wouldn't have been too late to type it in tomorrow. But my negligence was a mistake, and I didn't try to defend myself. "I'm hungry." Ji Xiaoman said flatly, her tone carrying a strange sense of grievance. I paused, but didn't look back. Then Ms. Ji should hurry and eat. I don't want to eat outside food, Ji Xiaoman seemed to be hinting at me. I didn't want to talk nonsense with her. I grabbed the doorknob, ready to leave. The sound of a chair being pushed back came from behind. Just as I cracked the door open a little, someone slammed it shut with their hand. A hot breath assaulted me from behind. My waist tightened. I was surrounded by an overwhelming, oppressive aura. I was tall, and her lips were right at my forehead. A slight movement would press them together, but I didn't dare to turn my head. What do you want to do? I tried to make my voice sound calm. The air was filled with suppressed tension. I closed my mouth, not daring to speak anymore. Ji Xiaoman lowered her head silently. I could only see her slightly downcast eyelashes, her delicate nose, and her bright, moist lips. The next second, I didn't expect her to suddenly kiss me. I wanted to push her away, but I didn't expect that action to make the previously somewhat gentle person become aggressive. My body was tightly pressed against the wall. A slender hand restrained my chin, forcing me to lift my head and meet the demands of the person in front of me. All my struggles and resistance were useless against her. Ji Xiaoman closed her eyes, seeming to vent and also seeming to reminisce. Gradually, she couldn't restrain herself anymore. Don't. Sensing a small hand moving down there, I panicked, and I don't know where I got the strength, but I pulled away with great force. But my resistance made her almost break my waist. Why did you run? Why did you escape? She asked in a low voice, but the hand's grip was even stronger. Tell me why. Tell me the answer. Yi Chen, I'm only giving you this one chance. Tell me why you ran away, I gasped in discomfort. Let go of me. Ji Xiaoman laughed softly near my ear, then continued to ask persistently, tell me why, Yi Chen. I didn't understand her meaning and asked, what? Why? Why did you run away? She looked at me obsessively, her tone almost pleading. Tell me the answer. Tell me you lied to me, right? I closed my eyes, the words practically squeezed out of my mouth. Xiaoman, let the past be the past. Ji Xiaoman stopped the movement of her hand, becoming almost anxious. Tell me why. I was silent for a long time before finally saying, there is no why. Ji Xiaoman laughed self-deprecatingly and sadly. Good, you're very good. She squeezed my Adam's apple again, and the movement of her hand became more reckless. Ji Xiaoman! I gasped painfully, inhaling sharply. I knew long ago that she was a maniac, and reasoning with her was useless. We have already broken up. I looked up, tears uncontrollably falling. Please let go of me. Ji Xiaoman stopped moving, carefully studying my expression. Just when I sighed in relief, thinking she was finally done with her outburst, I felt dizzy. When I came to my senses, I was upside down, my feet off the ground, having been hoisted over Ji Xiaoman's shoulder. You lunatic, let go of me. Ji Xiaoman, what exactly do you want to do? Ji Xiaoman snorted, threw me onto the sofa, and looked down at me. What do you think I want to do? I started to panic. Whether it was in the past or now, I couldn't figure out this woman's intentions, nor did I know what she would do next. You can't what? Ji Xiaoman tilted her head. I bit my lower lip, looking at her in despair. If this is how you can vent your anger. Before I could finish, Ji Xiaoman kicked over the chair beside her. The loud noise made me instinctively flinch. Her eyes turned red. She grabbed my neck and yelled, "Damn you! How dare you say something like that to me?" I could barely breathe. I bit my lip softly, and the pressure on my neck disappeared again. Isn't this what you wanted? Ji Xiaoman looked at me, her eyes filled with an impenetrable darkness of emotion, so complex I couldn't understand it. A threatening voice whispered in my ear, "Since you want it so badly, then let me have my revenge, Yi Chen. Remember, you brought this on yourself. I gave you a chance." I looked at her with pity, not understanding her intention, but I clearly felt the aura around Ji Xiaoman turn even colder. She spat out a single, short word. Sex. Hearing this, my entire body went cold again. I looked up in disbelief, my heart trembling. What did you say? Ji Xiaoman looked at me without warmth. Didn't you say I could have my revenge? Regretting it now, aren't you? My whole body felt like it had fallen into an ice cellar. I stared at her steadily and asked, after this time, will everything in the past be considered forgiven and forgotten? Ji Xiaoman pouted at me. You still dare to bargain with me? My face was pale. I looked at her weakly and asked, what will satisfy you? Ji Xiaoman bent down slightly. Her thumb pressed lightly, but firmly against my lips. Until I am satisfied. Tears were forced back into my eyes. So this is what it feels like to be humiliated by the person you love. Was it this painful for her when I forced her to kneel back then? Fine. I heard myself utter a single word. My ears were roaring and I couldn't seem to hear any other sound. I was too numb to think. If this would appease her, and she wanted this body, then she could take it. It was just a worthless mess anyway. Why was I being so dramatic? My outer clothes were pulled off one by one. Ji Xiaoman turned her face away to look at the pitch-black window outside. Put your clothes back on. She seemed to have plunged into a bottomless abyss. The suffocating feeling was almost tangible, making it hard for me to breathe. Although we were so close, I felt as if an instant had passed and two worlds separated us. I'm not in the mood today. Ji Xiaoman's voice was hoarse and dark. She didn't look at me again. I felt around, then quickly put on my clothes and fled the office as if escaping. Ji Xiaoman lowered her head and silently wiped the corner of her eye. For a moment, she was genuinely tired. The winter night was howling outside. I didn't sleep all night, too lazy even to reply to Lu Jueqi's message. I kept my eyes open, staring blankly at the ceiling. Everything that happened yesterday felt so unreal. But the stinging lips and the teeth marks on my arm were a concrete reminder that it was not a dream. I desperately wanted to run away again without looking back, but I knew I couldn't. Filled with worry, I ate a little food and tentatively called the director. Director Chen, the pre-production procedures for this show are all done. Do you think I can pull back now? If there are any issues, we can always communicate by phone. Is it really necessary to keep staying at their company? Director Chen hesitated. He sounded a bit awkward. The procurement funds have all been spent and filming is about to start. The investor has the greatest say. Miss Ji specifically instructed you to work there. If you want to come back, why don't I talk to Miss Ji about it? I smiled bitterly and declined Director Chen's suggestion. The next day, as soon as I arrived at the company, the assistant stuffed a stack of documents into my arms and hurried out, saying, "Scriptwriter Yi, the meeting is at 9 o'clock. Get ready quickly." I quickly checked the time. It was 8:30 a.m. I had half an hour to prepare the documents. At 9 o'clock, Ji Xiaoman walked past my desk with steady steps, not sparing me a glance. I couldn't help but look up at her retreating figure. I noticed she was followed by 4 bodyguard-like figures and a young man in blue overalls. Nanzhen tapped my desk with a folder. "Let's go, Ye Chen. Ms. Ji is already in the conference room." I snapped out of my thoughts, grabbed the documents, and hurried with her toward the conference room. Nanzhen whispered a reminder. "Kai Shukun is here too. I guess this meeting is related to him. Check the procedures for his segment quickly." I thought of the young man I had just seen and slowed my steps slightly. In the conference room, Ji Xiaoman had a serious expression, sitting in the center. Kai Shukun sat bored beside her. When he saw me enter, he even waved. He was handsome and looked innocent, his big eyes radiating purity. I lowered my head, and the hand gripping the documents couldn't help but clench. A person completely unlike me, and a person who perfectly matches her. Ji Xiaoman tapped the table. The first 2 episodes of the show will be filmed in advance. I spoke up to remind her. "Ms. Ji, that might make the schedule a bit rushed." Ji Xiaoman snorted coldly. "I can increase the investment, but I want a perfect show. Don't make any excuses. If you can't do it, we'll replace you with someone who can." Nanzhen gently tugged my hand, signaling me to keep quiet. At this moment, Kai Shukun spoke apologetically. "I'm sorry, Mr. Ye. My schedule really can't be adjusted." I looked at him, my tone slightly uncontrollable. "Mr. Kai, if the schedule absolutely cannot be adjusted, you can choose to be a temporary guest for the first 2 episodes. A folder was slammed heavily onto the table. Ji Xiaoman interrupted me, her voice cold. "Not a single shot of Kai Shukun can be cut. If you can't manage that, leave as soon as possible." I felt like my heart was soaked in salt water, aching sharply. I stopped talking, just bowed my head, my eyes turning red. I whispered, "Understood." On the other side, Kai Shukun gave me a look of melancholy, then pouted and tugged at Ji Xiaoman's sleeve. "Lower your voice. It's my fault anyway. Why are you taking it out on someone else?" Ji Xiaoman glanced at me, who was still looking down, and softened her tone slightly. "There's nothing else. Come find me if there are any issues, but it must be completed within 3 days." The people below Ji Xiaoman didn't dare to question her. Everyone hurriedly packed up and left. Although only 2 episodes were moved up, there was too much to do. Everyone would probably have to work overtime tonight. I practically fled with the documents, not daring to look at the 2 people in the center again. The difference between what I had heard and what I had witnessed firsthand was immense. The conference room door closed. Kaukun looked at Ji Xiaoman speechlessly. "Cousin, how did you ever manage to woo Brother Yi by being so fierce?" Ji Xiaoman's gaze passed through the conference room glass and landed outside. The familiar figure walked farther and farther away in her sight. She was silent for a moment, then spoke every word deliberately. "Chase? I won't chase anymore. I want him to come back on his own," Kaukun scoffed. "What if he doesn't come back?" Ji Xiaoman's exquisite face suddenly showed an extremely cold smile. "Then I'll break his legs." Kaukun quickly hugged his arms. "You'll regret this. Grandpa doesn't know about this, right? If he gets involved again, he'll definitely be chased away again." Ji Xiaoman's expression was neutral. "As long as he comes back, I will clear away everything. Grandpa has never been the obstacle, from beginning to end." Kaukun rubbed his head. "You speak in such a cryptic way. I don't understand any of it." He bumped Ji Xiaoman's shoulder and opened his mouth, sounding somewhat gleeful. "I think Brother Yi misunderstood our relationship, right? Aren't you gonna explain?" They were indeed cousins. His involvement in the entertainment industry was only a hobby. Once he got tired of it, he would naturally return home. So, only a few friends knew that he was Ji family's grandson. Ji Xiaoman gave him a cool look. "You are my protege now. Just play this role well." "No way," Kaukun was shocked. "You're deliberately making Brother Yi misunderstand? You're really not afraid he'll run off?" Ji Xiaoman gnashed her teeth and muttered, "If he dares to run away this time, I'll..." Kaukun shrugged his shoulders. Meanwhile, the entire company became busy. But no one complained. Ji Xiaoman, as a boss, might have a bad temper, be fond of scolding people, and enjoy kicking chairs. But she was generous. The overtime pay was 5 times the hourly wage, so everyone was extremely excited. Nanzhen was humming a tune. When she saw Kaukun's name, she made a special annotation. I skimmed over the pages of documents and saw Kaukun's name circled. Those 3 words were inexplicably jarring. I should still go eat the working meal at noon. Nanzhen leaned over. "This afternoon, we both need to go to the filming location. Mr. Kai is Ms. G's treasure, so we have to remove anything on site that might be dangerous." I squeezed my lips, subconsciously wanting to say something sarcastic, but just nodded slightly. At lunch, I was told that the water, electricity, and some equipment hadn't been coordinated properly. I checked the time, quickly shoveled down a few mouthfuls of rice, and drove with Nanzhen to handle the handover. Just as I was working frantically, Lu Shueki called. "Ye Chen! You said you'd pick me up. Where are you?" I was currently fumbling to call the construction crew. I hadn't even managed to drink a sip of water all afternoon. Only then did I remember I had completely forgotten about Lu Shueki. "I'm so sorry! Lu Shueki huffed angrily. "I demand 18 dishes tonight." I was even more annoyed and said, "I have to work overtime tonight too. I probably won't get back until after 9. Why don't you go eat at a restaurant first?" "You heartless man. Not only did you stand me up, but you're also going back on your word." I quickly apologized. My mistake. As soon as I'm done with these 2 days, I promise to personally cook a huge table of dishes for you." Lu Shueki needled me again with sarcasm before relenting. "I want 20 dishes, I coaxed her helplessly. Fine. I breathed a sigh of relief. Then I saw Nanzhen wink at me slyly. "Your girlfriend? She's like a child." I felt a little embarrassed. Nanzhen clearly didn't believe me, but she didn't have the bad habit of prying. She laughed. "Haha, if you have something going on tonight..." I quickly waved my hand. "How can I?" Nanzhen reassured me. "Anyway, we won't finish today. By finishing the site coordination this afternoon, we already exceeded our task. I'll do the proposal myself tonight. They're all similar anyway." I still hesitated. "That's not fair. Everyone else is working overtime." Nanzhen chuckled. "We work overtime to earn money. Your salary is paid by the other party. Overtime for you is essentially mandatory labor. Besides, this way I can buy a new handbag when I get paid next month." I laughed at her words. "Working overtime for 1 night, and you still have to deduct your own salary." Nanzhen shrugged indifferently. "I can stay up all night for a bag," she said playfully yet seriously. I mean it, but I can finish it in 3 days too. Since you have plans with your friend, go ahead and leave early. It's only 2 hours anyway. My heart felt warm. Thank you. By before 5 p.m., we had completely finished, an hour earlier than expected. Nan Zhen sat in the passenger seat, flipping through the documents with a smile. My colleague has already sent me several promotional proposals. We just need to take a quick look. I smiled and said, "Thank you. I'll buy coffee for everyone tomorrow." Nan Zhen touched her chin. "Then I want the most expensive one." "No problem. I'll order 2 cups for you. You'll need the energy for your overtime tonight." Upon arriving at the company, the two of us briefly confirmed the promotion plan. Nan Zhen then started ushering me out. "I'll handle the remaining details, you go on back." With things reaching this point, refusing any further would seem a little pretentious. I graciously accepted her kindness. "Thank you for your hard work, Sister Nan Zhen. I'll come early tomorrow." After saying that, I headed toward the elevator. I called Lu Zueki on the way. "I'll be home in half an hour. I'll send you the location. I'll make you a feast tonight." Hearing Lu Shuiqi's triumphant laughter on the other end, I couldn't help but smile too. I hung up the phone, ready to press the elevator button. Suddenly, a slender hand reached over and a familiar breath sounded near my ear. "Where are you going?" I didn't turn around. Staring at the constantly blinking elevator numbers, I said, "Ms. G, I have something to take care of. I'm leaving first." The elevator door opened, and both of us stepped in simultaneously. In the confined space, I held my breath uncomfortably, leaning against the side. The elevator slowly reached the basement level. I looked at the opening door, quickly nodded, and almost ran outside. The person behind me followed unhurriedly. I felt inexplicably nervous. I walked very fast, only secretly sighing in relief when I saw my car. Just as I eagerly reached to open the car door, the passenger door on the other side was also opened. Ji Xiaoman sat in without expression. My face changed. "Ms. Ji?" Ji Xiaoman looked at me, slowly locked the car doors, and then tapped the center console. "Did you forget what I said yesterday so quickly?" The unbearable scene from yesterday flashed through my mind. My face began to turn white. "What do you mean?" Ji Xiaoman smiled slightly, and one hand moved to my collar. My entire body stiffened. Suddenly, my phone rang again. Lu Shuiqi's name was on the screen. Ji Xiaoman glanced down, smiling with an unknown meaning. She said coldly, "2 years ago, I told you to delete Lu Shuiqi. Now she's a frequent caller." Her words were light, yet insulting. My eyelashes fluttered. I weakly explained, "We are just friends." Ji Xiaoman interrupted me. "I didn't ask you to explain. What are you worried about?" I backed away slightly, looking at her with difficulty and pleading. "Please get out first. I have something to do tonight." "Your business is going to see Lu Shuiqi?" Ji Xiaoman chuckled, but her eyes became cold. She leaned back against the seat, fastened her seatbelt, and her tone was dismissive. "To Jiang'an Villa. You haven't forgotten which one, have you?" Of course I hadn't forgotten. That was the house we used to live in. I gripped the car key and said, "I'm sorry, I really have something on tonight." Ji Xiaoman raised her eyes. "You weren't interested last night, but you are now." She stared at me without reservation, smiling with increasing arrogance. "Although it's still early, I don't want to waste time." Scriptwriter, "Yi, aren't you going to drive? Aren't you afraid Mr. Kai will find out?" I asked this question softly, finally looking up to meet her gaze. Ji Xiaoman tugged at the Buddhist beads on her wrist, a hint of coolness flashing in her eyes. "Then don't let him know." I bit my already numb lip, and my heart gradually cooled. "Fine, I owe you. Vent however you want, take your revenge, have your way." The car drove out of the parking garage unhurriedly. Lu Shuiqi called again. I answered directly and said briefly, "I'm sorry, Lu Shuiqi. I have to break my promise again tonight," Lu Shuiqi said exasperatedly. "Just bully me then. Fine, I'll go eat by myself. The bill is on you." I forced a smile. "No problem." Ji Xiaoman didn't say a word the whole way. I could only look straight ahead. The streetlights outside were all lit. The winter temperature was cold and damp. Even with the heater on high in the car, I still felt a chill throughout my body. My foot on the accelerator felt heavier and heavier, but the car still drove steadily to the villa. The front door was opened. I stepped inside but stood momentarily stunned at the entrance. Everything inside was unchanged. Even the throw pillows on the sofa were the ones I had bought. There was even my pair of Pikachu fuzzy slippers on the shoe rack by the door. 2 years felt like just 2 days. Nothing had changed, yet everything seemed different. Ji Xiaoman's expression was complicated. She was born into the G family, had a smooth life since childhood, indulged and pampered as she grew up. There was nothing she couldn't have, nothing she had to work hard to achieve. My gaze swept over every object inside, finally landing on the woman in front of me. I had been in agony the whole way, but arriving here, my heart suddenly became calm. "I'm sorry. I meant it sincerely." G Shaman smiled softly, but the smile felt somewhat sad. "You don't know anything, yet you lightly say I'm sorry to me. Do you feel wronged and noble?" I tried to explain. I gazed at the person in front of me, from her brows to her chin. This is the person I love. Even now, I still love her. But in this world, can love truly conquer all difficulties? How could I bear to pull the moon in the sky down into the mud on the ground? I silently took off my coat. Ji Shaoman looked down at me. Her small, soft hand gently stroked my face. Her voice was husky. "I'm hungry." I panicked and suddenly felt ashamed. Ji Shaoman turned her face away and spoke lightly. "There are ingredients in the fridge. If you don't eat well, how will you have the strength later? It's going to be a long night." I felt my face burning. I took 2 steps back and asked, slightly annoyed, "Can't you order takeout? I don't like it." Her tone was flirtatious. "I haven't eaten yet." I gritted my teeth and put on a sweater. Then I heard Ji Shaoman's deliberately emphasized voice. "There's a lot of stuff in the fridge. I want 18 dishes." I couldn't help but turn back and ask, "Can you finish it?" Ji Shaoman snorted softly. "Why? Can other people eat it? But I can't." Thinking of the call I made to Lu Suiki, I suddenly had an indescribable feeling. Did she hear it? The refrigerator was indeed fully stocked. Beef, fish, chicken wings, shrimp. Ji Shaoman stood at the kitchen entrance, perfectly composed. "I'm going to take a shower." I ground my teeth. "Got it." 3 plates were already on the table. In the center was a fish dish. It didn't look great. Even the tail had been chopped off. She sat down and slowly chewed it. It turns out people, like food, can change. But even when changed, they are still unforgettable. By the time I brought out the next dish, she had eaten most of the fish on the table. "Is it that delicious?" I realized she hadn't touched the other dishes at all. Ji Shaoman put down her chopsticks, pulled out a tissue, and wiped her mouth. "I'm full. No need to cook anymore." I looked at the sliced mushrooms and chicken wings in the kitchen and pursed my lips. "You only ate the fish?" "I'll wait for you in the room." Ji Shaoman didn't answer me. She walked straight into the second-floor bedroom. I looked up the stairs. It was a lie to say I didn't feel anything, but those initial stirrings had long turned into panic and helplessness. There were a lot of leftover dishes. I ate a few simple bites and felt like I was full. I slowly walked up the stairs. My heart began to pound violently. I used to infuse that room with my scent for a long time. I also spent a long time longing for that bed. But the person inside no longer belonged to me. I pushed the door open. Ji Shaoman was looking down at a magazine. Her semi-dry hair lay softly on her head. Her clearly visible collarbone showed above the bathrobe. I was startled to realize she seemed much thinner than before. Even her baby face was becoming angular, with a flattering curve. My throat felt a little scratchy. I spoke softly. Ji Shaoman put down the book. A cluster of fire seemed to be hidden in her calm eyes. She opened her mouth and said, "I don't know how I walked into the bathroom." The courage I had mustered downstairs was now completely gone. I stood under the shower head looking nervously at the shampoo on the shelf. That was still the brand I liked to use. Steamy heat filled the bathroom. My skin was turning red from the heat, and I still didn't want to go out. Facing what was to come, I don't know how long passed before I finally turned off the hot water. I looked at myself in the mirror. My wet hair hung over my eyes. My clear, cold eyes were filled with confusion and helplessness. "What are you doing? Come out!" Ji Shaoman's voice suddenly sounded. Her knock on the door carried a hint of worry, and her voice was a little louder. "Yi Chen, come out right now." I quickly grabbed a towel to dry my hair, then hastily opened the door. I was wearing a bathrobe. Opening the door, I met Ji Shaoman's eyes. I suddenly couldn't speak. The air seemed to solidify. The person in front of me stared at me. Those dark eyes seemed to be holding back a trapped beast, restless and ready to burst out. I tightly gripped the fabric around my body. Ji Shaoman countered with a cold face, but her eyes were red at the corners, devoid of any gentleness. "Didn't I say this is what you deserve?" She spoke fiercely, and I couldn't tell if the wetness on her eyelashes was sweat or tears. "Tell me, Are you still leaving? Ji Xiaoman questioned coldly. I clenched my teeth and remained silent. But my silence only provoked her further. Ji Xiaoman asked again, Are you still leaving? Say what I want to hear. Damn you. You know what I want to hear. Her voice was filled with suppression and pain. One last time, tell me. I finally couldn't hold back. I grasped Ji Xiaoman's shoulder and cried out, No, I'm not leaving. Ji Xiaoman lowered her head and gently kissed the tears on my face. Why? I sobbed softly. Everything my eyes could see was her, overwhelming, too fragile to endure. I could only answer her haltingly, No, I don't know. That's not the answer I want. But she still wouldn't let me go. She whispered in my ear, Do you love me? Of course I loved her. So I answered honestly, I do, I love you. Ji Xiaoman closed her eyes and sighed against my ear. No, you don't love me enough. I haven't felt your love yet. When I woke up again, I was alone in the empty villa. I tried calling out twice, Ji Xiaoman? No one answered me. Just then, my phone rang. I answered, and it was Nan Zhen's voice. Why aren't you here yet, great sir? It's almost 10 o'clock. Ms. G has already started a meeting. My forced, blank mind finally kicked back into gear. I quickly replied while getting dressed, I'll be there right away. Nan Zhen's worried voice came from the other end. What's wrong? Ms. G didn't lose her temper today, which is unprecedented. I quickly replied, Nothing, and slowly stood up. My whole body was covered in dense love bites. They weren't serious injuries. They were just what I owed her when I saw her. I tried to laugh self-mockingly, but the tears in my eyes wouldn't stop. By the time I arrived at the company, it was nearly 10:30 a.m. When Nan Zhen saw me, she quickly made a silent gesture for me to sit down. Relax. Ms. G didn't ask at all. Her little boyfriend is here, and they're being affectionate in the office. They probably didn't notice you. Nan Zhen chuckled softly. I heard from Ms. G's assistant that Ms. G spent a fortune hiring a professional publicity team. Our workload is cut in half. You have to admit, Ms. G is truly in love with Kaiju-kun. She's really willing to spend money. I forced a slight curl of my lips. That's great then. Ugh, what a pity. No overtime tonight, and my overtime pay is gone too. Nan Zhen regretfully opened the project book. The boss is generating electricity for love, and we poor workers suffer. My thoughts were in turmoil. My body ached, but my heart seemed to hurt more. I lowered my head, unable to joke anymore, and forced myself to concentrate on work. In the CEO's office, Kaiju-kun pouted in dissatisfaction. Cousin, you've gone too far. Why did you cut my screen time? Ji Xiaoman flipped through the procedures book without looking up. You're too much trouble, unnecessarily increasing the workload. Are you afraid of tiring out, Brother Chen? Favoring a lover over a friend? Be careful, I'll tell Uncle. Kaiju-kun widened his big eyes. I'm the one with the most buzz here. Aren't you afraid my fans will curse you? Ji Xiaoman tapped the table dismissively. Then, let's just replace you. Kaiju-kun rolled his eyes. You only bully me! I'm not playing with you anymore. He paused deliberately as he passed my desk, snorted, and then left. Nan Zhen looked confused. Yi Chen, did you offend this young master? My heart sank. I suddenly thought of what happened last night. Regardless of who initiated it, what happened between Ji Xiaoman and me last night was truly unfair to Kaiju-kun. I felt like my heart was being scorched by fire. Although I had prepared myself mentally, my sense of shame still made me feel utterly mortified. For the entire day, I was out of sorts in my work. Even Nan Zhen noticed something was wrong. Yi Chen, are you hiding something from me? I shook my head. No. Nan Zhen shrugged. Since I didn't want to talk, she wouldn't press the issue. She just handed me the promotional plan. The publicity team is done. We just need to finalize the procedure one last time tomorrow, and we'll be all set. Nan Zhen then added, and this afternoon, Ms. G renegotiated with the guests. Kaiju-kun's screen time in the first 2 episodes has been significantly reduced. Our workload won't be too heavy then. Why? I was confused. Didn't she say she had to guarantee Kaiju-kun's screen time just 2 days ago? She must be worried about her little boyfriend. Afraid he'll get tired, maybe? Nan Zhen had a look of knowing amusement. I dragged my exhausted body home. As soon as I entered the door, I saw an angry Lu Xueqi. I ate 3 takeout meals, Yi Chen, you heartless bastard. I could only apologize quickly. I'm sorry. What good is sorry? Lu Shueki grabbed my collar and suddenly noticed the dense red marks on my neck. Her expression immediately changed. Ji Xiaoman slept with you? I opened my hands weakly. I owe her. Lu Shueki instantly flared up. What do you owe her? It was just a breakup. You didn't cheat on her. People get divorced after marriage. How is a breakup an injustice to her? I sat on the sofa, clutching a pillow, saying nothing. Lu Shueki saw my lifeless state and softened her tone. If you want to get back together, talk to her properly. You were the victim in the past. Get back together? I repeated, shaking my head blankly. It's impossible. Lu Shueki's anger returned. Impossible? Then why the hell did you sleep with her? I frowned at her. Lu Shueki, why are you speaking so crudely now? When I first met her, she was an elegant young lady from a prominent family. Lu Shueki sneered. Ugh, I'm really fed up with you. She sighed heavily, pulled out her phone, and started ordering takeout. She had hoped for a good home-cooked meal, but seeing me, there was no hope. Ji Xiaoman has a boyfriend, I suddenly added. Lu Shueqi's hand trembled, and her phone dropped to the floor. She cursed under her breath with a dark expression. Damn it! She has a boyfriend and still sleeps with you? What a scumbag. I fell silent again. I didn't know why Ji Xiaoman had become like this. The arrogant young lady in my memory who used to hug me and proudly chatter in my ear, Grandma doesn't have a single male mosquito near her except for you. Up until the show officially began filming, Ji Xiaoman didn't speak another word to me. Even work arrangements were conveyed through her assistant. She acted like a truly high and mighty investor. There was no intersection point between her and a mere scriptwriter like me. Yet, I grew more and more restless. The experience that night felt like a dream I had, and only I was trapped in it. Has she finally let go? Does she no longer hate me and no longer love me? The filming of the show began quickly. Due to the reduced screen time, Kaiju-kun often wandered around the set when he had nothing to do. Combined with my own fondness for basketball, our relationship also became much more familiar. Kaiju-kun looked at me with some envy. Brother Chen, you're so tall. He was petite, only about 170 centimeters, but I was over 180 centimeters. Standing together, we looked like an adult and a child. I didn't expect him to say that suddenly. I didn't know how to reply, so I could only offer an awkward but polite smile. Your arm is almost thicker than my leg. Kaiju-kun moved closer, already familiar, and compared our limbs. He sounded a bit discouraged. It's a shame I drank so much milk as a kid. It was a waste. But you're very handsome, I said sincerely. Kaiju-kun always maintained an idol persona, yet he was the most manly one among the trainees. Kaiju-kun took a breath. Handsome is worthless compared to muscle. Otherwise, why would sister like you so much? My heart stopped. I stood there, stunned. You? What did you say? A myriad of thoughts surged within me, but they were too bitter and difficult to articulate. The comment seemed to have slipped out accidentally. But what did it mean? Kaiju-kun realized he had accidentally let the truth slip. He quickly covered his mouth in a panic. I'm doomed. Cousin isn't gonna carry me straight home, is she? Haha. Brother Chen is so outstanding, everyone likes you. He quickly laughed to cover up, then ran away quickly. I have something to do. Gotta go. Talk later. I moved my body only to find that, despite it being the dead of winter, I was covered in a cold sweat. Even I, dense as I was, realized now that Ji Xiaoman and Kaiju-kun did not have the relationship I thought they did. My heart eased, but the faint ripple of joy that was about to surge was immediately overwhelmed and suppressed by a wave of bitterness. Even so, what difference did it make? The filming was nearing its end, coinciding with New Year's Day. The director, living up to expectations, gave everyone a holiday and enthusiastically invited everyone to a bar to relax. Made a difficult excuse to decline. I have something on tonight, you guys go have fun. Scriptwriter, ye must be rushing off to a date, haha. The director finally gave you time off, you can't waste it. Director Chen also smiled. If it's not important, put it off. I had no choice but to call Lu Shueqi. Go eat hot pot by yourself tonight. We have a company event. Lu Shueqi huffed sarcastically on the other end. I knew you weren't reliable. Luckily, I have Alice to keep me company. My head immediately swelled up. Lu Shueqi, you are not allowed to bring your little boyfriend to my house. Lu Shueqi scoffed. Nonsense. Your small bed can't fit both of us anyway. I'm going to a 5-star restaurant. Only then did I feel relieved and hang up the phone. Director Chen waved everyone to leave together and said cheerfully, Ms. G just called. She's covering the expenses tonight. Ji Xiaoman is going too? I immediately backed off. Director Chen, I already have plans with a friend tonight. Kai Shukun peeked out from behind, smiling widely. I just heard everything. Your friend is going on a date with someone else. I was startled by him. I said, frustrated, why are you eavesdropping on other people's calls? Kai Shukun snorted. Brother Chen, your voice was too loud. I wasn't eavesdropping. Fine. He admitted he only crept closer a little bit to gather intelligence for his cousin. With Kai Shukun interfering, I couldn't find any more excuses, so I reluctantly agreed. Anyway, with so many people, we wouldn't have any chance to be alone. Since they were all people in the entertainment industry, the bar they went to was naturally a very private members-only club. Soft music was playing, and there weren't many people. Kai Shukun wore a large mask, excited like a monkey jumping up and down. Oh my god, a bar! This is a bar! I was speechless and pulled him down. Is this your first time? Yes, Kai Shukun nodded heavily. Brother Chen, I love you so much. Sister G letting me in today is definitely for your sake. Ah, I want to be your best friend. What is all this nonsense? I cautioned him again. I know you're not well. Don't drink any alcohol later. Kai Shukun pouted. Just a tiny bit, okay? You pour it for me later. That way, sister won't scold me. The more he thought about it, the more excited he became, and he couldn't stop smiling. Suddenly, a large hand grabbed the back of his collar and pulled him up. Ji Xiaoman looked at him coldly. You want a drink? Chai Shukun immediately sat up like an obedient child. He pointed at me, betraying me without hesitation. Brother Chen wanted to drink. I refused. My head was aching. After interacting more with Kai Shukun these past 2 days, I realized this guy was essentially a child in personality. Director Chen and several artists stood up and greeted her respectfully. Ms. Ji. Ji Xiaoman nodded and sat down next to me. Kai Shukun immediately and tactfully vacated the seat for us. The crowd was slightly confused. What's going on? Why isn't the little star clinging to his sugar mommy? Instead, he gave up his seat. I moved uncomfortably to the side, feeling a bit nervous, and subconsciously picked up a glass of wine and drank it. As soon as the big boss arrived, the atmosphere became somewhat subdued. Director Chen looked around, quickly changing the subject. Yi Chen, during your time at Ms. G's company, you received a lot of care from her. Why don't you quickly toast her? I had no choice but to put down the wine glass, refill a cup of wine, lower my head, and present it to Ji Xiaoman. Miss Ji, thank you for your care. Ji Xiaoman didn't take it. She just looked at me with a half smile. Care in what way? I noticed the curious glances from around us, and my face immediately flushed. I looked at Ji Xiaoman with a pleading look. Thank you, Ms. Ji, for your care in work matters. Kai Shukun, who enjoyed watching the drama, said, Sister, you should toast him back too. Ji Xiaoman, however, took out 3 wine glasses. After filling them, she leaned back lazily on the couch. Since you're thanking me, you should show some sincerity. She pointed her chin at the wine glasses. Then drink 5 cups. The people who were just talking fell silent. They looked at each other, not understanding why Ms. G was targeting me again. Director Chen looked at Ji Xiaoman, then at me, and cautiously pondered. Ms. G, scriptwriter Yi is not a good drinker. I'm afraid you won't enjoy yourself. Why don't I drink with you? Before Ji Xiaoman could speak, Kai Shukun became anxious. Sister, are you crazy? 1 cup is flirtation. 5 cups is a funeral pyre. Ji Xiaoman ignored him, turned her face, and asked indifferently. Scriptwriter Ye, are you going to drink this wine or not? Fine, I'll drink it. Thank you for your care, Ms. G. I picked up the glass and drank it in large gulps. It was just 5 cups of wine. It was nothing I couldn't handle. Seeing my willingness, the artists also started laughing and cheering. Turns out our scriptwriter Yi is a serious drinker. The atmosphere warmed up. Director Chen sighed in relief, but he couldn't help but look at me, who was still drinking, with some worry. Ji Xiaoman stared at me steadily. A little red wine spilled from my lips. As I drank the last cup, Ji Xiaoman pressed down on my hand. I was already slightly drunk now, and my expression no longer held back. I narrowed my eyes and looked at her mockingly. What? Miss G thinks I haven't drunk enough? Do you plan to make me drink a few more cups? Or a few bottles? Ji Xiaoman slowly took the wine glass from my hand. I made you drink. And you're angry? I gave a fake chuckle. You're insane. If I forced you to drink, would you be happy? Cold sweat dripped down Director Chen's forehead. Oh no, he's really drunk. Scriptwriter Yi is talking nonsense now. Xiao Zhou, drive him back now. Haha, Miss Ji, please don't mind him. I'll drink the rest of this cup. I'll drink it. Ji Xiaoman gave him a cold look. Did I tell you to speak? Director Chen forced a bitter smile. Ms. Ji, I brought him here. Although he was afraid of offending this young lady, he couldn't just stand by and watch me make a drunken fool of myself. Kai Shukun's eyes darted around. He nudged Ji Xiaoman. Sister, why don't you take him home? You're the one who got him drunk. You are responsible. This young master was also thoughtless. Why was he adding to the chaos? Wasn't he afraid the two people who usually didn't get along would start fighting? More cold sweat beaded on Director Chen's face. He quickly stood up. No need to bother, Ms. Ji. I'll take him. Ji Xiaoman held me tightly against her chest. Her voice was full of contempt. Why should you take him? What are you trying to plot? Director Chen was practically in tears. What could he be plotting? He has a wife, for goodness sake. I'm taking him. She didn't say she would drive him or not drive him. She just picked me up and walked out. I struggled restlessly in her arms. Don't take me, put me down. As soon as I finished, I was rudely thrown onto the sofa. Everyone was stunned. She really is the legendary crazy young lady. She throws people around like that. I rubbed my butt, my mind getting more and more confused. I looked around blankly. Who hit me? Are you going to throw me now or send me home? Choose one. Ji Xiaoman's cold voice came from above my head without any hint of a joke. No one dared to speak. Director Chen lowered his head and silently muttered, I tried my best. Everyone for themselves. Only I, still unaware of my impending doom, pointed at her nose. You wouldn't dare! Kai Shukun hurriedly pried my finger away. Brother Chen, settle down! What kind of person is my sister? When she goes crazy, she even hits herself. Seriously! Seriously! I asked foolishly, then put my hand down meekly. I looked over with drunken eyes and giggled foolishly. The young lady is quite spicy. How much money for one night? Everyone around instinctively turned their faces away. Scriptwriter, yay, you're asking for trouble. Ji Xiaoman laughed out of anger. She grabbed me, dragged me out, and the bar owner stood outside, opening the door for her without looking away. Everyone else also chose to ignore us. I finally quieted down when I was shoved into the car. My consciousness cleared a little. I stared blankly at the person next to me. Ji Xiaoman. Ji Xiaoman ignored me. Lao Li to Jiang'an Villa. Yes, miss. Lao Li recognized me quickly and was shocked as he fastened his seatbelt. Yi Chen is back? Does the old man know? My head was still a little fuzzy. Hearing the words, Jiang'an Villa, I subconsciously refused. I'm not going. I want to go home. Ji Xiaoman unbuttoned a button. Hearing this, she tilted her head and sneered. Behave yourself, or if you anger this grandma, I'll take care of you right here. If I hadn't been drinking, I probably would have endured it, but now, the alcohol gave me courage. I immediately slapped her. Didn't I tell you never to call yourself grandma in front of me again, or you wouldn't be allowed in bed for a month? My words threw Ji Xiaoman into a memory. Back then, Ji Xiaoman loved to call herself grandma. I found it unpleasant and lost my temper with her. Ji Xiaoman was as obedient as a puppy, wagging her tail and admitting her mistake and whining coquettishly. Husband, I won't say it again, okay? I can skip meals, but I can't skip the bed. Ji Xiaoman closed her eyes and pressed the car window open. The cold wind outside blew in, cooling down the lust and violence that covered her. How could I dare to say those words to her? She left in a hurry and wasn't wearing a coat. The cold wind made her immediately hug her shoulders. Ji Xiaoman closed the car window again, blocking the outside cold. She turned her head and pulled me into her arms, sighing as if compromising. When can you put away all your thorns? The car was still driving steadily. In the small space, our breaths mingled. Neither of us spoke. We maintained a silent, or perhaps feigned silence. This rare moment of warmth, even for a second, was a luxury. The sudden ringing of my phone was jarring. I moved and saw that it was Lu Zuiqi calling. I was completely sober now. Yi Chen, is your event over? Didn't you say you went to a bar? Did you drink? I'll come pick you up in a bit. The person next to me's aura suddenly turned cold. I replied in a low voice, no need, I'll take a taxi back myself. Lu Shuiqi said, oh. Alice stood me up too. I'm so mad. What time are you coming back? Let's go drink some more. Before I could speak, a small hand reached over and took the phone from my hand. He won't be back tonight, Ji Xiaoman said briefly. Lu Shuiqi shrieked on the other end and was mercilessly hung up on. I was completely sober now. I snatched my phone back, looking down, avoiding her gaze. Let me out of the car. I want to go home. Ji Xiaoman turned a deaf ear. Lao Li naturally played dumb and kept driving. There were other people in the car, and I didn't want to make a huge scene. Seeing her silence, I also stopped speaking. It wasn't until the car stopped that I followed her out and stood still at the door, refusing to move further. I'll take a taxi back myself. Ji Xiaoman opened the villa door. Get in! The lights weren't on inside. It was pitch black. The house that was once warm now felt like a monster ready to devour me. I remembered the check I had received, gritting my teeth, and slowly stepped back. Ji Xiaoman, we can't continue this. Why? Ji Xiaoman curled a cold smile. Her eyes, too dark to discern emotion, were swirling with arrogant pleasure. And who are you going to continue with? Lu Shuiqi? I shook my head. Lu Shuiqi and I are just friends. I know. Ji Xiaoman smiled strangely, her eyes filled with a flash of resentment. Otherwise, do you think Lu Shuiqi would still be alive now? I widened my eyes, starting to fear her. Ji Xiaoman, you can't do this. Lu Shuiqi, the sole heir of the Lu family, a huge enterprise, a single heir for 3 generations, and yet an out-and-out homosexual. Ji Xiaoman looked at my pale, terrified face with amusement. Guess what Lu family's competitors will do if this news gets out? What will happen to the Lu family stock? I looked at her, almost pleading. Ji Xiaoman, she hasn't done anything. You can't do this to her. For the past 2 years you've been abroad, you've posed as her boyfriend, let her live in your house, and cooked for her. Ji Xiaoman closed in on the trembling woman. Her voice was cold as ice. Stealing my person. Shouldn't she pay the price? I shook my head violently. Since you know her sexual orientation, you should know there's nothing between us. You should know there's nothing between us. She just saved me. Those first few days abroad, I was having a very difficult time. If it hadn't been for Lu Shuiqi, I might have starved to death on the street. The phone in my hand rang again unsuitably. Lu Shuiqi's name flashed continuously. Ji Xiaoman looked at me gently. Answer it. See what your boyfriend has to say. I bit my lower lip and tried to defend myself again. Not my boyfriend. Back then, to help Lu Shuiqi deal with her family, I did act as her boyfriend for a while. Afterwards, we publicly announced a peaceful breakup. This was a year ago. I don't know how she found out. The phone was still ringing. I decided to answer it. I'll go back by myself. Lu Shuiqi paused on the other end and asked softly, Ji Xiaoman let you go. I secretly glanced at Ji Xiaoman. My gaze met her dark eyes and I immediately looked away. Don't worry about it, I'm fine, Lu Shuiqi snorted. Actually, you want to stay, don't you? When you're drunk, all you talk about is Ji Xiaoman's name. Over and over again. You're fine, yet you're spaced out thinking about her. I abruptly hung up the phone, my face slightly flushed. Ji Xiaoman put her hands in her coat pockets, looking at me with a half smile. Go in or leave? I felt my temper about to snap. I glared at Ji Xiaoman through gritted teeth and walked into the villa. I'm not cooking. Ji Xiaoman laughed. The fridge is empty. You can't cook even if you wanted to. I sat on the sofa without speaking. I had drunk wine tonight, and now that the effect was wearing off, I had a headache. After all the commotion, sleepiness started to creep up. I'm gonna take a shower. Ji Xiaoman stood with her hands in her pockets, looking down at me. I gave her an unspeakable look. Did the two of us only have this method of communication left? Ji Xiaoman's gaze seemed to soften slightly, a stark contrast to when she was threatening me with harsh words. If I looked closely, I could even see a hint of a smile. Didn't you agree to let me take my revenge? Are you regretting it now? I walked upstairs, annoyed. This woman was full of dirty thoughts. Taking revenge this way. Wasn't she the one enjoying it? I came out after showering. Ji Xiaoman was already sitting on the sofa in a bathrobe, waiting for me. She's not in the room? My face felt hot. Although she hadn't abstained from torturing me on the sofa before, the area was now wide open, and the crystal chandelier overhead was very bright. Even though I was prepared, I still wanted to retreat. Ji Xiaoman leaned in. Unlike the urgency of the last time, she was very gentle, like a kitten gently licking and nibbling at something. I grabbed her hand. "You care a lot about him," Ji Xiaoman replied indifferently. I backed away slightly and said with difficulty, "If you two are in that kind of relationship, we can't do this." "Why?" Ji Xiaoman started playing with my chest without restraint. I was slightly irritated. "Why is it always like this?" I pushed her away. "Until you make things clear, we can't continue." Ji Xiaoman chuckled briefly. Then, over my gasp of surprise, she forcefully and ungently sat down. "Do you think you have a say?" The sudden rush of shame made me curse. "Ji Xiaoman, damn you!" Unfortunately, the harder I cursed. I was just about to close my eyes and resign myself to my fate when the sight that met my eyes in the next second made my hands tremble non-stop. "What is this?" Ji Xiaoman's skin had always been flawless, white and tender. But now a repulsive scar ran across her perfect jade-like back. It looked like it had healed a long time ago, but it was still so jarring. I spoke softly, unable to stop a gasp, and gently touched the scar with my hand. Ji Xiaoman closed her eyes. Her voice held no emotion. "Does this have anything to do with you? Aren't you just trying to get under me all the time? You probably hate this version of me even more now, don't you?"